They taught you that Africa was a land of tribes, jungles, and poverty. They skipped past thousands of years with one word: primitive. But while Europe was still struggling through war and disease, there were African cities built in stone, universities filled with books, and walls so vast they stretched for miles across the land. This isn't fantasy. This is your inheritance. In this episode of Children of the Sun, we're stepping into the real Wakanda energy of Mali, Great Zimbabwe, and Benin City. Stay with me, child of the sun, because once you see these empires clearly, the story you have been told about Africa will never feel the same again. Maybe this is familiar. In school, you learned about Egypt, Greece, and Rome. You heard about European kings and revolutions. And when Africa finally appeared in the story, it was usually as a background to slavery and colonization. The message was quiet but powerful. Before Europeans arrived, Africa had no real history, no empires, no technology that mattered. But historians and archaeologists and African elders have known for a long time that this is not true. There were African empires like Mali, built on gold and scholarship. Stone cities like Great Zimbabwe, the largest stone complex in Sub-Saharan Africa before the modern era. And a planned metropolis, Benin City, surrounded by vast earthworks, one of the greatest human-made earthwork systems before machines. So today we're going to pull these empires out of the shadows and back into your memory. Our first stop is Mali. Not just the modern country, but the Mali Empire, a West African power founded in the 1200s by Sundiata Keita, the Lion King of Mali. This empire sat on top of something the world craved: gold. Caravans crossed the Sahara carrying West African gold and bringing back salt, cloth, and other goods. The Mali state controlled key trade routes, which poured wealth into its cities. But Mali wasn't just a pile of gold, it was also a center of knowledge. Under the famous ruler, Mansa Musa, Mali invested heavily in the city of Timbuktu, building mosques and schools that attracted scholars from across the Muslim world. In these centers, people studied religion, law, astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and more. Libraries full of handwritten books preserved ideas that connected West Africa to a wider world of thought. You might have even heard that Mansa Musa was the richest man in history, sometimes estimated in today's terms as worth over $100 billion. Those numbers are guesses, not exact bank statements. What we do know is that when he made his famous pilgrimage to Mecca, his caravan was so lavish, and he gave away so much gold in places like Cairo, that chroniclers wrote about prices rising for years afterward. Imagine that. A black ruler from West Africa altering another region's economy just by passing through. In the Yoruba world, There's a word, Ashe, the life force, the power to make things happen and bring change. Mansa Musa's caravans weren't just displays of wealth. They were Ashe in motion. The collective power of miners, farmers, traders, scholars, and leaders shaping history through their choices. That's a first truth our textbooks rarely show. African wealth as organized power, not random luck. Now we travel south to what is today Zimbabwe. Hidden in the hills, you find the ruins of Great Zimbabwe, a stone city built between the 11th and 12th centuries by African hands. Great Zimbabwe is the largest stone complex in sub-Saharan Africa before the modern era. Its walls and enclosures were built from stacked granite blocks, fitted together without mortar. For a long time, some European scholars refused to accept that Africans had built this on their own. They created theories and foreign builders, Phoenicians, Arabs, anyone but the local people. But the evidence is clear. Great Zimbabwe was built by Africans for an African elite, using local materials and knowledge. The stone tells a story of engineering skill and social organization. Excavations at Great Zimbabwe uncovered glass beads, porcelain from Asia, and trade goods from the Indian Ocean coast. This shows that Great Zimbabwe stood at the center of a trade network, linking the African interior to coastal cities and then to Arabia, India, and beyond. This wasn't some isolated tribal settlement. It was a node in a global system, a place where African cattle, gold, and craft met foreign goods and ideas. In ancient Kemet, or Egypt, there was the principle of Ma'at, truth, balance, and cosmic order. Think of Great Zimbabwe as Ma'at in stone, walls that express social order, sacred space, and protection. A balanced society, farmers, herders, rulers, spiritual leaders channel their Ashe into this place until the landscape itself carried their pattern. When you look at these ruins, you're not looking at mystery rocks. You're looking at frozen African energy, a city where relationships, resources, and spirit once flowed together. From West Africa's golden empires, we move now to a city of bronze and walls in the forests of Niger. Our third stop is Benin City, in what is now southern Nigeria. Centuries ago, this was the capital of the Benin Kingdom, ruled by the Oba, a sacred king. Benin City was encircled by a system of ditches and ramparts, walls and moats known as Iya in the Edo language. These earthworks weren't just a single wall, but a network of boundaries and defenses spanning great distances across the kingdom. Some researchers have estimated that, taken together, these earthworks stretch for thousands of kilometers and involve moving more earth than many famous ancient projects. Benin City itself was laid out with a carefully planned main street, branching avenues, and large compounds. European visitors described Benin as a city of broad, straight streets and impressive architecture. At a time when many European cities were crowded and filthy, this African city impressed outsiders with its order. Inside this city, artists cast the famous Benin bronze. Plaques and sculptures recording kings, warriors, and spiritual scenes with incredible detail and skill. In the late 19th century, British forces attacked Benin City in what they called a punitive expedition. The city was burned, and thousands of bronzes and other artworks were taken and scattered to museums around the world. These bronzes aren't just beautiful objects. In many West African traditions, art can carry spiritual weight, memory, authority, presence. Think of the Benin bronzes as containers of ashe, royal power, ancestral memory, and spiritual energy cast into metal. When they were taken, it wasn't only a theft of property, it was an attempt to steal memory and power. So what does all this mean for you right now? First, the idea that Africa was always poor is not just a mistake. It's a story weapon, one that cuts you off from knowing that Black people built empires, cities, and knowledge systems that mattered on a global scale. Second, real African wealth has always been more than coins or gold. It's ashe, the power to make things happen, organized through community. In Southern Africa, the philosophy of Ubuntu says, "I am because we are." It teaches that your humanity and your strength are shaped in relationship with others, not in isolation. Mali's scholars, great Zimbabwe builders, Benin's artists, each of these empires are Ubuntu in action. Thousands of people aligning their ashe toward a shared vision. Take a breath with me. Imagine you're standing on the walls of Great Zimbabwe at sunrise. The stones are warm, the air is cool. Below you, people are moving, tending cattle, trading, praying. Now picture yourself in Benin City, walking along a straight avenue, past carved pillars and the sound of metal workers shaping bronze. Then see the caravans of Mali, stretching across the Sahara, gold, books, and prayers heading toward the horizon. These are not fantasies. These are chapters of your story. The only question is, what will you do with your ashe? Will you let this world convince you that you come from nothing? Or will you remember that long before Wakanda hit a movie screen, children of the sun were already building worlds? If this episode lit something inside you, join the constellation. Hit subscribe, and in the comments write, "My ashe builds," and finish that sentence. Because when we remember together, we rebuild together. This is Children of the Sun, and this is only the beginning.